Who Changed the World. 10 amazing science stories. Charles Darwin. What is the theory of evolution? So what is the theory of evolution? It's what Charles Darwin's big contribution to science was, way back before people even knew where life comes from. Yes, even you. He was born long ago, back in 1809, the fifth of 6 kids in fair England's sunshine. When he was a kid, he thought that nature was cool. He enjoyed learning, but he didn't like school. He took long walks in the woods every day, and he collected insects as he went on his way. He liked to do experiments to figure things out, because by exploring, you become smarter, no doubt. When Charles was older, he went to medical school, but he almost passed out at the sight of a cut. He said, "I guess being a doctor just isn't for me. So when I grow up, what will I be?" In 1831, Charles Darwin went on a trip. He traveled the world on his famous big ship. The ship was called the Beagle, and it would be his place for fun adventures and new discovery. Charles collected worms, beetles, shellfish, and bugs, and took great pleasure in finding spiders and grubs. He found the bones of a monster that was 14 feet high, and he wrote about the rhea, a bird that can't fly. But the wonders that interested him the most were found on the islands called Galapagos. There were giant tortoises, the biggest to be found, and lizards that can swim and crawl on the ground. Each island was a little different, Charlie discovered, but that wasn't the only odd thing he uncovered. The creatures on each island were almost the same. Little things were different, but they had the same name. All living things looked different a long time ago. He studied until one day he shouted, "I know!" The birds had changed on their own little isle, so they could live in their very own style. They changed over time so they could stay alive. They had to change or they wouldn't survive. Darwin was happy he had found a solution. He called his idea the theory of evolution. His research explains how life on Earth began, from insects and birds to the women and men. Charles wrote his ideas in a big book. You can find it in the library. Now go take a look. Louis Pasteur. What keeps milk fresh? Have you heard of a thing called pasteurization? It keeps milk fresh and calls for a celebration. Its inventor, of course, was Louis Pasteur, who heated things up just enough to stay pure. But how did this Louis know just what to do? He conducted experiments, more than a few. His discoveries not only help milk stay fresh, but help us stay healthy and get sick much less. A long time ago, Louis grew up in France, and back then people believed that you don't have a chance. If you get sick, then your sickness had to stay in. right there inside where it had to begin. But was that really true? Lewis thought it was not. Lewis thought about it, and he thought a whole lot. Lewis thought hard, and with imagination, he came up with something hard, something brand new. Vaccination! He proved that if given a weaker disease, someone could avoid a much bigger sneeze by giving someone a sickness real small. Then after that sickness would not come at all. As a young student, Lewis was not very special, but his paintings and drawings were very successful. He went on to study both science and art, and each of these studies he loved with deep to heart. Lewis became a chemist and a bacteriologist and worked hard. He saw what some scientists missed. Did he care that some scientists laughed at him? No. Lewis knew his ideas would win. Louis Pasteur is the father of germ theory. He helped us all understand it more clearly. Without his discoveries, what would we do? We would get sick more often, that's true. Or our milk, cheese, and juices would go bad much faster. Without Lewis, dinner might be a disaster. The idea you have with which no one agrees may be as small as a germ or as fast as a bee. If you have a theory that no one believes, think like Lewis and you will prove what you see.